Good evening and welcome to the Planning Board meeting for May 13th, 2019. It is 6:04 p.m. and I'm going to call this meeting to order. We'll start with the invocation given by Board Member Hadian, and I'll lead us in our flag salute if you'll please stand.
Lord, we thank you for this day and the many blessings we have received. As this meeting begins this evening, I pray for each person here. Give us listening ears and thoughtful words. Give us presence of mind and an open heart. Amen.
Thank you. Please join me in saluting our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have the roll call?
Yes, Chair Rosati. Board Member Liu,
Present.
Board Member Hadian,
Present.
Board Member Atukanian,
Present.
Vice Chair Eaton, and Chairperson Rosati.
I am here. Thank you.
And for the record, Board Member Eaton did email last week saying she would not be able to attend tonight.
Do you have any announcements?
No announcements.
Okay, so we have one hearing tonight, and item number 2 is a staff report. So why don't we just roll into that? The hearing, project number 18-000-6498, conditional use permit. The address is 201 East Magnolia Boulevard, Round 1 Entertainment. This is the time and place for hearing on project number 18-000-6498 concerning the application for a conditional use permit allowing the establishment of an amusement enterprise use consisting of Round 1 Entertainment with on-site sale of consumption of beer and wine, along with approval of late night hours to operate past midnight. The project is located at 201 East Magnolia Boulevard. Before we begin, do any planning board members have any legal or other conflict of interest regarding this hearing?
No.
No.
No. Have any planning board members had any communications, including written, oral, with the applicant, the applicant's representative, or any other person?
No.
No.
No. Mr. Ramirez, have the notices by the law been given?
Yes, they have.
Are there any written communications on this matter?
We haven't received any other than there was an inquiry from Board Member Atukanian that you all received regarding other businesses within 1,000 feet that were late night hour operators.
Thank you. Will the representative of the Community Development Department please introduce yourself and summarize the matter before us?
Good evening, Chair Rosati and members of the Planning Board. My name is Marcia Medina, and I'm an Assistant Planner with the Planning Division. Can I please get the slide? I'm here today to present to you the proposed conditional use permit for the property located at 201 East Magnolia Boulevard, which is also known as Burbank Town Center Mall. The applicant for the conditional use permit is Round 1 Entertainment. Round 1 is an entertainment venue that provides a mix of uses such as arcade games, billiards, bowling, and food. The proposed tenant space is located at the ground floor within the Burbank Town Center Mall. The tenant space was previously occupied by a sports chalet and is approximately 42,848 square feet. The Burbank Town Center Mall is located adjacent to downtown Burbank, which is served by various commercial, retail, and entertainment and restaurant venues. Round 1 Entertainment has various locations across California, where many are located within the local mall. Round 1 operates as an entertainment venue which provides attractions such as arcade games, billiard tables, bowling alleys, and the sale of food and beverage, and private areas for parties and gatherings. The zone in which Round 1 will be located in is Plan Development 89-4, which includes the existing Burbank Mall site. In this particular plan development, the uses that are allowed revert back to what is allowed in the C2 commercial zone. The applicant has requested the following three uses, which are permitted in the C2 zone through a conditional use permit. The allowance of an amusement enterprise use, the allowance to operate under late night hours, and to be granted the ability for the on-site sale and consumption of beer and wine. The first request is to allow an amusement enterprise use within the planned development. The planned development reverts back to the C2 zone for a list of permitted uses. In the C2 zone, an amusement enterprise use requires approval of a conditional use permit. Round 1 has a mix of uses such as arcade games, bowling, billiards, and food. Because Round 1 incorporates a variety of uses, amusement enterprise is the most closely related use that matches with how Round 1 operates. The second request under the conditional use permit is to be granted to operate under late night hours. The Burbank Municipal Code identifies late night hours as the operation of a business between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m. Round 1 has requested to operate within late night hours but will not operate past 2 a.m. In the C2 zone, any business that is requesting to operate under late night hours is required to obtain a conditional use permit. The last request under the CUP is to be granted the ability for the on-site sale and consumption of beer and wine. The applicant has applied for a Type 41 alcohol license through the Department of Alcohol Beverage Control. Through the Type 41 license and the granting of the conditional use permit, Round 1 will have the ability to sell beer and wine for the on-site sale and consumption only. The sale of beer and wine outside of the Round 1 leasing area is prohibited. In addition, all Round 1 staff shall undergo training for responsible service consistent with the Alcoholic Beverage Control's training requirements. The proposed location of Round 1 is consistent with the surrounding area due to its adjacency to downtown Burbank, which has a variety of retail and commercial uses. There are other similar entertainment uses adjacent to the mall, such as AMC Theaters, Colony Theater, and Flappers Comedy Club. The proposed location of Round 1 within the Burbank Town Center is the most appropriate and is consistent with the surrounding area. After an analysis made by staff, it was determined that within a 1,000-foot radius of PD 89-4, there are approximately 13 establishments in the area that are open until 2 a.m. or beyond 2 a.m. The zone in which Round 1 will be located in is Plan Development 89-4. Through the implementation of this plan development, there were several parking garages located through the area to serve the uses in the plan development. As part of the plan development, any use that is permitted in the C2 would be seen as fit to occupy the PD and was determined to not require any additional parking. Consistent with the Burbank Municipal Code, Round 1 is classified as an amusement enterprise use and is not required to provide additional parking. Per code, it has been determined that the parking structures within the plan development can provide the parking demand for uses that are allowed. Staff has determined that the conditional use permit requests to allow for an amusement enterprise use, the allowance of Round 1 to operate under late night hours, and to allow for the on-site sale and consumption of beer and wine is consistent with the uses allowed in Plan Development 89-4, as well as the surrounding area. Staff has also determined by allowing these uses, there will be no negative impacts to the zoning or the surrounding area. Therefore, staff recommends that the Planning Board approve a resolution of the Planning Board of the City of Burbank approving project number 18-0006498, a request for a conditional use permit allowing the establishment of an amusement enterprise use with the on-site sale and consumption of beer and wine, along with approval of late night hours to operate past midnight at the venue located at 201 East Magnolia Boulevard, based on the findings of fact and subject to the recommended conditions of approval. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we open up the hearing to the public, I would invite the applicant or their representative to address the planning board. You will have a maximum time of 15 minutes to make your presentation.
Good evening, Councilman. My name is Clarice Bell, and I'm a representative of Round 1, and I'm happy to be here, and I hope I can kind of share with you what our concept is all about. I prepared a presentation today, so please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you.
As Maciel explained for you guys, our concept includes things such as arcade, bowling, dining, billiards, and we have something called party rooms that allow for private karaoke. So I have a few photos here to kind of show our space. For the Burbank location, we're looking to add 8 lanes for bowling, and that kind of overlooks our arcade area. We're looking to have around 240 games or so. You can see here that we have arcade games from both the Western side and also from Japan. And we also have crane games for a variety of tastes from our customers. And people can collect credits and tickets for the arcade to our victory zone and accumulate those credits to purchase prizes. We also have billiards. And like I mentioned, party rooms, so you can rent these out for any event. It could be a business event, party event, or if you just want to do private karaoke, that would be fine as well. We have, in addition to our party rooms, food and drinks. We have a selection of items including pizza, hamburger, ice cream, and we also have a beer and wine bar. In order to keep the fun at our concept, we put a lot of emphasis on our safety measures. So we have third-party security, we have our house rules, curfews. We do a wristband policy to make sure that individuals will be following the rules that we implement. So you can see here that we have our house rules available and open to the public as soon as they walk in, so they know exactly what we are expecting from our guests to keep everybody safe, including our staff and our customers. We do not allow alcohol beyond our space. And in addition to the sign that we have here at our entryways, we also employ third-party staff. We try to employ with the mall because they're most familiar with the location. If not, then we'll go for major security companies that keep their staff very full. And that way we'll always have security in our entryways, but also patrolling the inside of our location during the nighttime as well. Our curfew, something that we've established, is from 10 a.m. to about 9:59. People of all ages are welcome to come, but from 10 p.m. we do restrict our patrons from 18 plus. They are allowed to come in with a guardian of 25 years or older, and each of those individuals may only bring in 4 minors. From midnight to 2 a.m. we only allow 21 plus, and again, individuals under 21 can come with adults 25 plus, and they can only bring in 4 of those under 21 individuals. We implement a very strict rule when it comes to purchasing alcohol. Although we do have ID checks at the door for the curfew, anytime alcohol is purchased at the bar, they have to present their ID, and we run it through a scanner to make sure that the ID is valid and the individual is 21 years of age or older. They're then given a wristband that, in case they're carrying alcohol across the floor, our staff and the security guards can do random checks if needed and make sure that those individuals truly are 21 and over. And like Marcel stated, we do have locations all across the country. We are currently at 32 stores open right now, and we are happy to be here in Burbank, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. We will now open the public hearing to hear from any persons in the audience who wish to speak on this matter. Each person may address the planning board for a maximum time of 3 minutes. Anyone here to speak on this matter? Seeing none, would the representative of the Community Development Department like to make any further comments?
No further comments.
Thank you. Does the applicant or the representative wish to make any further comments?
No further comments.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions for staff or the applicant? I have one question about the third-party security. Is that all the time or special events?
We have third-party security every single day. We do start them in around the evening time. Some locations we start at 7, some start at 5. It just depends on the area. But every single night we do have guards posted at every entryway, and we try to have somebody patrolling the inside of the space as well.
So you're talking about 2 security people.
Yes, it would be 2 unless we feel that more is needed. Then we would make sure to bolster our security team.
Great. Does anyone have any questions for the applicant? She's here. Thank you, Mr. Atukanian.
Yes, I have a few questions. Now, when we looked at the slides, well, thank you for the presentation and the photographs. It's helpful since the location's not existence at this time. You showed the section that was for service of alcoholic beverages. I'm going to be focusing on 2 things. And one of them is the alcohol, because you do, I guess, provide entertainment, and there's no age limitation, meaning that people can get access to the location, 42-some thousand square feet, and there could be a lot of young children there, which is somewhat unique, I think, because I asked this afternoon for a list of locations that serve alcohol and are open till 2 a.m. And most of the locations are adult-oriented type of a thing, either restaurants, that won't serve, and it's limited space, not as large as the one that we're talking about. So quickly, just if you can tell me, I did some lookup, Round One Entertainment, you also have locations in Japan, is that correct?
Yes, our company originated in Japan, so we have over 100 locations there.
All right. And do you have locations anywhere else?
Yes.
Other than United States and Japan?
Oh, no.
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 So it's strictly United States and Japan.
Currently, yes.
All right. And has the manager been selected for this particular location?
Not as of yet.
Not yet. All right. Is there a lease in place?
As in a space that we've already... Yes, there is.
Do you know the term?
The term is we usually lease for 10 years.
All right. So initial term is about 10 years. And as far as security, Chair Rosati asked that you'll have 2 security personnel on site. Now they have dual functions, security and checking for wristbands and alcohol consumption?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you feel that 2 individuals are sufficient to cover 42,000 square feet? Let's say 20,000 of that square feet is actual common area versus where the other, let's say 20,000 is occupied by machines or your operational needs. Do you believe 2 individuals is enough?
The 2 individuals are more of a supplement for the staff that we already employ. So during the peak time, we usually have about 40 employees or so, and the bulk of that staff are on the floor and doing the same thing that the security do as well. And if it's shown to us, so what we usually do is when we first open, we have a tighter security from third party in the first 3 months. And if we feel that we need to maintain that level of security, increase it, or so on and so forth, then we will do so. But at our present locations, we haven't had that much trouble with the amount of security that we choose to employ.
And which locations would that be?
All of our locations have security, sir.
No. You said at the present we haven't had any issues with security. Are you speaking about all locations in the United States?
Yes. The number of guards have not been issue for us.
All right. You seem to be fairly knowledgeable. How long you been with the company?
I have personally been with the company for 2 years.
2 years. Do you know of any citations any of your location has received for serving alcohol to minors?
Yes, we have.
What location?
Our Massachusetts location. This was a few years back.
And how was that addressed?
We first located or identified the employee that had made the mistake of serving the minor, and they effectively have been terminated at that point. And we have since then tried to bolster our alcohol training. Actually, the alcohol training plan that you see in front of you, I had to create kind of in response to that. afterwards to make sure that all of our locations wouldn't be making the same mistake again. And since then, we have not had a violation concerning minors.
So the last violation was 2 years ago.
A little over 2 years ago. I made the plan after the effect, after I joined the company, and I realized that we needed to kind of increase our training. But since even before I joined and after joining, we haven't had any violations with minors after that.
I understand. Now, how long was that location in operations when this happened?
I'm not exactly sure.
All right, no problem. Now, you've asked that so if I understand this correctly, the bar will be open the same hours as the general location, is that correct? Or are you going to start, or is the serving of the alcohol starts at a different time?
Yes, it does start at a different time.
What time?
Noon, sir.
I'm sorry?
At noon.
Noon.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned the party rooms. Well, obviously, if someone wants to have a birthday party for their child or something to that effect, they'll rent the room or have use of the room with whatever. Now, and they could purchase alcohol to be consumed in that room?
We currently do not allow beer or alcohol in our party rooms.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Just to interject a thought, the Pickwick Bowl here in Burbank operates the exact same type of establishment without security or wristbands. So just keep that in. I know where you're going, and I'm with you. But I just wanted everyone to keep that in mind when you scan your brain for this concept. We do have one that's currently operating with party rooms, with beer and wine, with bowling, with arcades, with pool tables, and with kids. Any other questions for staff or the applicant? Board Member Hadian?
This could be a question for staff. On Exhibit C4, for fire life safety plan, we have one exit to Magnolia and the two others to the exit stairs. So 3 altogether.
There's also an exit on the exterior towards,
And the next.
I think the street name, towards Garage 4. I'm trying to see if I can find a site plan here for you. A Cypress. So there's a entrance on Cypress as well, and then also towards the food court inside of the mall. So there's a large entrance that would feed directly into the food court area.
Thank you.
Any more questions for staff or the applicant? Seeing none, I now declare the hearing closed. The planning board will now deliberate. What is the planning board's pleasure? Board Member Hadian.
I think the proposed use for the space is a good retail and good tenant improvement. I don't see any major problem with the hours of operation, and they have a responsible alcohol service plan in place, so I can support the project.
Thank you. Board Member Liu.
I too can support the project. I'm impressed with their training for the alcohol monitoring for their staff, and I am supportive of welcoming strong businesses like this into Burbank.
What would you like to do, Mr. Adekanian?
Well, it's a large operation. they seem to have many locations, so I'm certain that they have a large, support for this type of operation, and they're going to be responsible and tending to business. I'm not sure if I missed it, but I would be able to, I'm able to make the findings with the one exception of the clarification that was given here tonight. If no beer or alcohol was consumed or used or taken into the party rooms. If that's something that could be added on, then I don't have an issue with supporting the project. My only concern is teenagers, and they could get real creative with things, and sometimes 21-year-olds who are able to purchase the alcohol, pass it on to an 18-year-old. And if you're in a confined room, the only way that's going to be checked is someone going through that door, and it's very easy to avoid that or eliminate that. To try and work around that. But in the open spaces, I think in an open space, it's pretty much open, and I'm sure they're going to have some surveillance systems. So that would be my only concern. And 2 a.m., if that's their operation, that's what they like to do. No one's going to get out of there before 3 a.m. after closing at 2 a.m. But if people want to work, why not? Let them work.
Okay. Why don't you make the motion with your condition?
Would that be something that could be?
We checked with the applicant. They're amenable to that condition.
Okay. Fantastic. Oh, okay. I'll read that. I'd like to propose a resolution of the planning board as amended, as described: no beer or alcohol in the party rooms, service to the party rooms, or consumption of alcohol in the party rooms. Resolution of the planning board of the city of Burbank approving project number 18-0006498, and the request for conditional use permit allowing the establishment of an amusement enterprise use, Round 1 Entertainment, with the on-site sale and consumption of beer and wine, along with approval of late night hours to operate past midnight at the venue located at 201 East Magnolia Boulevard, also known as Burbank Town Center, based on the findings of fact and subject to the recommended conditions of approval.
We have
As amended.
we have a motion with an amendment. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion and amendment? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against and abstaining. Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to item number 2, Planning Board update, Burbank school capacity.
Good evening. I am Simone McFarland, Assistant CDD Director for Economic Development, Housing, and Real Estate. So I appreciate the opportunity to present to you tonight. And one of the questions that our other assistant director, my colleague, brought to me was that you had some questions concerning school capacity. And where are we on the development of new projects, and how does that affect the schools? And so I have a little presentation for you tonight upon that, and then when I get done, I'm open to any questions that you might have. Okay, my clicker's not working. You gonna click for me? Okay. You'll be my clicker? Okay, I'll just go like this. This is the secret sign. Okay, so a few months ago, the City Council set a goal to build 12,000 dwelling units within the next 15 years, with the development focused away from single-family residents and along the I-5 freeway corridor, which includes the downtown Burbank Center Plan area, the Airport District, which is the Golden State Specific Plan area, and some opportunity sites for infill within the Media District specific plan areas. When establishing the goal, one of the questions, as we've talked about tonight, is there enough capacity for school development for the schools to support this development? And we'll talk about the answer of that question tonight. So currently, BUSD has 15,200 students in 11 elementary schools, 3 middle schools, 3 high schools, along with an adult school and alternative education school. When considering capacity, we did not consider special needs school, such as the new Vista and Magnolia Park schools, nor did we consider preschools. For our uses, out of the 15,200 student population, we actually used 15,090 as our population when we take those other schools out. So in 2017, BUSD hired a consultant firm called Decision Insight, and they prepared a report to look at this potential population growth from new development. And the report considered 8 new proposed multifamily units or projects, totaling 26 units, so 2,626 units. Based on the consultant's calculations, they determined that the student generation rate for multifamily averaged about 0.24, or about a quarter of a kid for each new household, and that's for multifamily. So using this number, we multiplied that by the City Council's goal of 12,000 units, which gives us an average of 3,000 new students over the time period of 15 years. It's about 200 new students per year. So at the same time, we looked at student population and what the demographics have been doing. And there's been a constant decrease of student population over the years. Burbank is actually getting older, and our student population is declining. So if you look at the numbers from 2010 to 2023, the student population is projected to decline 2,792 students, with the majority of this decline occurring between 2018 and 2023. That number equals 2,072 students. So it's important to note that the projection increase is over a 15-year period, and the decline number that I'm giving you is over a 5-year period. So that the time periods don't exactly match up, but that's the best numbers that we have currently. When you look at BUSD's inter-district permits, they shared information with us, and it shows that there are approximately 1,328 students have been given inter-district permits. These are non-residential students attending Burbank High schools, and schools do this because of funding issues. This funding of schools is tied to the attendance numbers, and when your population goes down, your income or revenue goes down from the state as also. So the school district accepts these inter-district transfers or permits to make sure that they continue to have that number of students and that revenue coming in. Without those students coming in from outside of the Burbank, we could have some schools need to close because they wouldn't have the population in them. So, and it's important to remember that this is just the official number that doesn't include those who might be using relatives' addresses or friends' Burbank addresses that don't actually live in Burbank. And so thereby that 1,328 number may actually be a larger number than what we're showing, but we don't know what that population would be. When we talk, can you go to the next one, Fred? When we talk about development impact fees or DIFs, the calculations are totally different. So primarily because classrooms are counted differently when you're calculating your DIFs, and this is all a formula that's handed down to the state, by the state, that we go by, or BUSD follows. So they conducted studies in 2016 and in 2018. And when they calculate this, what they do is if a portable classroom is less than 5 years old, it does not have to be counted. So if you have 20 portables, 19 of them are 4 years old, they get counted. The one that's 5 or over does not get counted as a classroom. Additionally, if you have more than 25% of your total portable unit count is if your total portable unit count is less than 25% of your total classrooms, you don't count those at all. So if you had 100 classrooms, 25% would be 25. If you had 24 portable units, you would not count those portable units. So your number that you would report to the state would be 76. So you would 75. You would take that 25 back off. So this is what BUSD did. Their portable count total overall is 23%. So it does not exceed that 25% number, so they don't have to count their portable classrooms as permanent classrooms. And the theory with this is because the portables are supposed to be temporary and the development fees are supposed to pay for permanent classrooms. So as a result, in the 2018 study that BUSD did for their diffs, they reduced the classroom numbers by 130 classrooms. This changed their capacity, reducing it by 3,280 students for their total capacity. So loading standards. The number of students you have in the classroom also affects the number of students, classrooms that you need, of course. So the state also gives you calculation numbers. For students K through 8, they say 25 students per classroom. And for 9 through 12 grade levels, 27%, or 27 students per classroom. BUSD has also set a goal to exceed these standards to move everybody to 24 students per classroom. So we looked at all of these numbers and we summed it up. If you're looking at BUSD's capacity for using the state's formula for class sizes of 25 for K through 8 and 27 for the upper grades, the total capacity is 4,740 people or students. When you remove the portables from this number, the capacity reduces 1,460 students. And then if you reduce the class sizes to 24, then this number continues to decrease. And you can see what the capacity level is based on all of these different scenarios. So in conclusion, if you ask the question, is there enough student capacity within BUSD if we build 12,000 units in the next 15 years? The answer is yes. If you ask the question, does BUSD need additional capacity that could be built using developer impact fees? The answer is also yes. So let's elaborate and kind of sum up a little bit. If the portables are counted, then there's capacity for an additional 4,740 kids, or 3,486 students, depending on the class sizes. And as we spoke about before, that the anticipated growth of students from the 12,000 units is predicted to be about 3,000 students. So, and additionally, so either way, we can fit those students into the current class sizes if you count the portables. If you also add in the natural decrease that we've seen in the population, those numbers help to offset that even more. And then if you look at the 1,328 inter-district permits, that reduces that number, it increases the capacity even more. So BUSD does have capacity, but at the same time, they do need diff fees to increase their classrooms so that they can have more infrastructure and more permanent classrooms as they move forward. So ultimately, as we start building and developing, some of these schools are going to become more impacted than others. So what the school district really needs to look at is, do they rezone? Do they change which neighborhoods go to which school? That's quite a possibility in the future. So that's something that they really need to get moving towards. But when you look at the numbers overall, there is capacity even with this type of growth. And that's my presentation. I'm open for any questions you might have.
Thank you. I just had a couple questions. Developer impact fees. When's the last time we built a school or a classroom with that money?
I don't know. We would have to ask the schools. Do you know, Fred?
No, I mean, what they do is, depending on new development, they get to charge what they call a per square foot fee. for that development. So once they accumulate enough, they can use that for infrastructure. That might mean buying new, new additions onto existing facilities, as well as actually buying bungalows. So they've used it for a mix of things, but I don't think there's actually been a new school constructed with DIF fees. And the reality of it is it's kind of one feeds the other. So as more development comes online, then more DIF fees are collected. And the larger ones are basically residential fees when you look at it.
And the other question I had was the DIF fees, are they only used for construction? It sounded like they could use it for multiple things.
The specific language that the state focused in on is to actually build permanent facilities. So it's basically for new construction. That's where the majority of the DIF monies go.
So I got to think, again, I don't know when the last time we built a classroom or a school. How much money is in that fund?
We would have to go back and look. Fred and I were looking at the budget before this meeting today, and we need some guidance on reading their budget. So we would have to go back and look in their budget.
That's a question probably best answered by the school district itself. But they are collecting DIF fees, and they probably in their annual budget would have a breakout of where they're what they're using their DIFs for.
One of the things that we can tell you is based on the 2018 report, the DIF fees for residential are set at $3.79 per square foot. And the commercial fees, they range from 6 cents on self-storage units up to 61 cents, which encompasses most commercial development.
Okay.
For an example, I pulled out the fees for First Street Village project. They had 261 units, and the total in DIF fees, it looks like for the residential, was $825,000. So that gives you a clue of what the new development should bring to the school districts.
Wow. Okay. Questions from
I have a couple of questions. Again, with the DIF fees, are all residential at the same rate, $379 per square foot? Whether
Yes.
it's regular housing or if it's low income housing, would they all be?
So there's, from what we could find on the website for BUSD, they have for multifamily, it has that rate that was noted. My familiarity is more with LAUSD, just because I dealt with that. They have different rates, and there's a threshold. So if you build, let's say, over 500 square feet of a new addition, it triggers the school fee, which they pay directly to the school itself. In the multifamily, it's also charged basically in total. So for total residential square footage, they charge that fee as well. So that's my basic understanding of how the fee is calculated. They also have to do a study anytime they decide to raise that rate, and it has to be, in essence, consistent with the underlying state law that limits what they can actually charge the fee for and how it's going to be apportioned. So I think it's my understanding, and the reason we wanted to bring this to you is both things are in play. One is they have additional capacity that's attributed to the bungalows, but because the intent is to build permanent facilities, the DIF fee, or the development impact fee, doesn't account for those classrooms purposely, so that the DIF fee can be raised to basically eventually phase out the bungalows and go to permanent. So that's one thing. The other thing we wanted to bring to your attention is when you ask the developer, are you paying your fair share of the cost for the school? That's the DIF fee. So in other words, they meet their letter of the law obligation by paying whatever the DIF fee is in place at the time they put their permit. But when I'm talking to Joe Public and saying, well, are they going to provide enough? Is there going to be enough capacity in the school for my child and a future child from one of these developments to go there? And the answer also is yes. And that's why Simone was providing you with the inter-district permits, the declining student population based on what's also happening with the aging population, as well as the capacity of the bungalows that do exist currently on many of the school sites. So they're not contradictory. They're just looking at capacity from two different standpoints. One, to facilitate a higher fee to build permanent structures, and the other ones being from the actual number of students that occupy those schools, some of which were out of district students that over time via attrition could be replaced with existing residents. So I just wanted to make sure. I think when you hear the public say, well, there's not going to be capacity. Well, there's capacity currently, but when you want to raise the rates to build permanent facilities, which I think is the long-term goal, you can use that type of calculation allowed by the state to basically bump the fee that's charged.
Unless I misunderstood your presentation or portion thereof, it seems that over the next 15 years, there'll be less students than more students because of the number or that we'll be losing in the 5-year period, whereas only 3,000 added over the 15-year period. So, and 2,000 is lost over the 5-year period. So my calculation would say, well, we're going to be losing students. So I think this question, would that be correct?
Yeah, if the trend that we're currently on continues and we continue to be growing older as a population in Burbank, then that will happen. Yes.
All right. So I think this question came up from the development on 6th and Cedar, the apartment building, the 42 unit.
It kind of did. I've been thinking about this for a while, only because when you look at the EIRs, it's a very smidgen little thing about the schools. And I just was looking for something a little bit more with substance. So, yeah, but that spurred it, yes.
Yeah, but I guess it answers the question. If we're building additional units, whether it be single-family houses, more rooms, or in fact, apartment buildings, the school capacity is there. So
It's enlightening. I mean, you're right. I mean, this is very enlightening. I'm glad we did this dance.
well, I'm glad you did it because you thought of the question to ask, but and I'm surprised at the answer.
I am shocked. And I would love if you could send us an email with the diff. I guarantee you that fund has got to be in the zillions of dollars of diff fees because again, I don't know any classrooms that have been built. I know there's been portable classrooms, which probably cost sizable amounts of money, but there's got to be an enormous amount of money in that fund, is my guess.
We can ask the school district for that information.
Yeah, we can also forward you the study that was done because there's a lot of information there and specific language as to what the methodology is on how they calculate the diff per state law.
Yeah, I'm very surprised though.
So would it be helpful in the future to have at least some of this information, the pertinent portion as far as the capacity is concerned in new developments when reporting is done so that the public is informed? Don't worry about the capacity, about, let's say, children being able to have a space in the school. The capacity is there so that concern would not be, or that argument or concern would not be present. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I think the information that's provided to you, we will, for better or for worse, the traveling roadshow that Simone is presenting to you. The idea is to finalize a memo that goes to the city manager's office, and it's provided to the council.
Right.
And we will provide you with a copy of it as well, so that when and if the question comes up again, one, you're armed with the facts, and secondly, it'll give you, and which I think it does, give you a better understanding of when we're evaluating it from a CEQA standpoint. And we, provide a couple of paragraphs that talk about capacity and the ability to provide that through these school sites. When you see, well, yeah, they're paying the diff and that meets the obligation, but is there truly capacity? You'll have that information with you as well.
Even if you did it once a year, you just say, because these numbers don't change, that much. Even once a year, you can pop this in every single one of our packets and say, there it is.
Yeah, I think one of the things that this will help us is, and we're always trying to bridge the lines of communication with the school district, is I know Simone's part of the process that we're going through is that Simone is actually reaching out to the school district and just to kind of test the numbers and make sure that they're on board, or if there's any nuanced thing that we missed, that they can also update that. But we wanted to make sure there was a lot of information out there, and you all hear it. Your peers, your colleagues out there, your neighbors are asking the question. So I commend Simone for kind of putting it all together in front of us, because the reality of it is that it's not as simple as we were making it, but there is capacity overall through the school district to be able to accommodate it in the immediate and over time. And then there may be things that the school district is doing long term, like major master planning for the whole community, and us giving it the information as far as where development is envisioned to happen, and having that ongoing discussion, like with Golden State, Burbank Center Plan, and Media District. It'll also help them kind of plan for the future, where they may need to build new school facilities. So I think this is good. I'm glad you, Chairperson, brought it up. And hopefully it helps you. It gives context to the larger projects that may be coming down the line here.
Well, just along the same line, do you think, just throwing out there, would it be helpful to find out capacity of the other services that the city provides? Water, electricity?
Being careful not to give work direction to staff. I know we have a long list of to-dos, our to-do list for the council and the city manager's office. And hopefully when we have, if council approves a budget and we get more staffing across the board, maybe we can have some of the policy analysts start working on different areas. I know there's an interest from the community to talk about development impact fees, so just in general, and that's a part of the discussion that'll happen later.
Okay.
So as Mr. Ramirez indicated, the development impact fee is going to cover most of the services burdened by new development or triggered by new development more specifically. But there are other studies that the city does regularly prepare. There is a renewable portfolio standard for the electric utility where they identify the total electricity demand, and then they show the diversification of that demand under the requirements of state law. The city has to gradually transition electrical supply into more renewable. So they show that. And then the sources of renewables change over time. There's state policy on which renewables are cleaner. And so it's a very complex report that is really not easy to simplify in an EIR for a project on a single city block. You know, the renewable portfolio standards are much broader. So there's that the utility routinely prepares. And then every 5 years, the water utility prepares an urban water supply management plan, which specifically goes to the sources of supply and the demands. And also, I think it probably addresses the recycle component as well, and the city's continual shift of non-potable to recycled. And they just updated that, I think, last year or the year before. Maybe it was 2016, published in 2017 or something like that. So those are two studies for electrical and water that are routinely updated, and staff can look for others of those reports that are routinely done.
What I was looking for is, to me, this is pretty extensive as far as the information is contained here. What I was hoping for, just a simple, this last page chart that was, page 4 chart that was prepared as far as what's the available capacity. So maybe one-liner. As far as water goes, we have capacity for another 5,000 occupants. As far as electricity goes, we have another 5,000 occupants.
We can see what we can gather. There are quite a few documents that look at land development and capacity, including the environmental impact report that was done for the general plan back in 2013. But in addition to that, every year, actually because of the efficiencies of, basically water conveyance, the Energy Star equipment that you have in your home, the low flow toilets, demand's actually been declining. So for water consumption and whatnot. So as we improve, in essence, we're kind of victims of our own success. That means that there's less fees that are being captured if you're using less energy and less water. But that's a good thing, I guess, in the long term. But yeah, everything that's coming to you in the environmental documents, actually, if you read those sections, they refer back to the EIR and capacity, and then all the different departments that are involved with that, be Burbank Water and Power, or for water distribution, for sewer too with Public Works. They all confirm, yes, this new development is only taking up a fraction of capacity, so we have more than enough. But I can highlight those sections and maybe send them off to you. Just it helps. It's a cheat sheet, but it'll be
Yeah.
helpful. Yeah.
Good. Any other questions, comments? Well, appreciate it. That was actually really a great report. So we very much appreciate your time. Now's the time for oral communications. I don't see anyone here for oral communications, so we'll move on to reports.
Beyond what you heard from Simone, no other reports.
Thank you for that report again. If somebody wants to make a motion to approve the minutes, we'll move to that.
I move to approve the planning board minutes from April 22nd, 2019.
We have a motion.
I'll second it.
We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining, motion passes. Items from the planning board members may introduce new items for discussion, but no action may take place except to place it on a future agenda item. Ma'am?
You know, I really enjoyed listening to the Burbank school capacity presentation, and I know we've been talking at some point about doing planning 101s, and I know staff capacity is pretty lean, and I was wondering if we could just kind of maybe consider doing little educational snippets like this on different subject matters at the planning board meeting. And that way, you don't have to organize a different meeting outside the public. Public could come to here, maybe learn about one subject matter. Then you would actually have it online as well, and you could pull it out and separately, post it. Like I think that the school information could be edited out and have its own little separate educational vignette thing. So maybe something to consider.
Yeah, there is. Not to go too far off topic, this is not agendized, but tomorrow night, I believe there's a presentation Simone is doing regarding upcoming housing bills before the council. So maybe after they're done with that, maybe we'll do kind of an abbreviated version with you all, since some of it will eventually potentially impact your workload. So we'll do that.
City planner comments?
None beyond what I've already stated.
Okay, so we're going to adjourn this meeting until May 10th, 2019. Thank you all for your participation.
May 10th?
June 10th. I was stuck in May. Thanks for your participation.